You guys are probably familiar with Jessica Tarlov on Fox News. She's the one liberal host on The Five, and she just does a really good job of effectively knocking down a lot of these right-wing talking points in real time as they're being spewed on The Five by the other hosts. And I have an example of that for you here in relation to Hunter Biden. And producer Pat on yesterday's show talked about how Hunter Biden is expected to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor charges in relation to not paying his taxes. He has since, but he didn't for a time there for 2 years. And he's pleading guilty to those charges, misdemeanors, and then will have a felony charge in relation to lying on a form about getting a firearm. Even though he was addicted to a controlled substance, he said that he wasn't. And that allowed him to get that firearm. And so that felony charge is going to be dismissed if he follows through with certain guidelines. And of course you can expect, and I think producer Pat predicted this yesterday, the right wing has been saying this is a big example of the 2-tier justice system. It's a sweetheart deal, and he's being treated with kid gloves because he's Hunter Biden. And see, this is what we've been saying. But in reality, it's not an example of that. It's not an example of Hunter Biden getting preferential treatment, as Jessica Tarlov will point out very nicely. I will note these charges and the investigation didn't uncover or doesn't have to do with all these accusations we've heard from the right wing. So that's part of the reason why they're really unhappy and want this to be an example of the 2-tier justice system.
Yeah, I could see that. It's certainly been trickling out since Saturday, which was the first official campaign event. And then Hunter was going to be a major talking point on the campaign, and that is slowly going away, but for good reason. So to try to tackle all the points that everybody made, which were aplenty. So what Hunter is not guilty of is being a Republican, but there's a Republican very closely allied with Trump named Roger Stone, who did worse than Hunter Biden. So he tax evaded $2 million, not $1.2 million, $2 million. And guess what happened? He was allowed to pay it back, and he wasn't even criminally charged. Hunter Biden, criminally charged, could face probation. Roger Stone, top guy to Donald Trump, skates free on that. It seems.
Wait, didn't they raid his house?
Yeah, I was just going to say, isn't he the guy that went in
I was talking about being criminal. No, you say guns a-blazing about everyone just because someone is carrying a gun. No one shot up any houses. Oh. No one was forced out of their house in their underpants. That was the one where they tipped off CNN, though, to be there for the huge crime of having CNN there. Okay.
But I like the fact that you like guns now.
I really don't. And actually, I think that there should be stricter gun control in this country. But if you look at the DOJ records about how often what Hunter Biden did is actually charged, it's basically nil.
I'll tell that to Lil Wayne.
Do you notice I didn't interrupt a single person on the panel, so just give me a second.
I am so sorry.
In 2019, there were 298 cases brought of people falsifying their gun application records out of 27 million background checks that were completed. That's the year that Hunter Biden got that weapon. That means that this is something that doesn't get charged. If you want to say to the DOJ, you should be charging on this, go ahead and do that. But there's no reason that Hunter...
Absolutely. So number one, just surface level thing. If you're a viewer of Fox News and you see that, don't you think that, I mean, just the way, the style in which they present information, the difference between Jessica Tarlov and the other hosts and how they're jumping in like children. Well, what about this? Oh, you like guns now? And not actually making serious points while she's calmly presenting actual facts. Just the aesthetic seems clear, separate from the substance of the points that are also clearly better. To be a much more of depth presentation of the facts. But on the substance of what she's talking about, it's important that we go one by one so that later on, as they list off all the reasons they think there's a 2-tier justice system, we can reference all the different debunkings that have been done by us as well, me, David Pakman, whoever it might be, because as this narrative gets built, it becomes all these examples that on their own, as we'll talk about here as we are currently, aren't actually examples of the 2-tier justice system. But people don't hear that. And so they get a bunch of examples. See, Hunter Biden got this deal and it's a sweetheart deal. Just believe us, but we're not providing evidence of that. Or the FBI did this thing and that thing that we're not really providing evidence for. And so then people have a collection of examples in their heads and they think, oh my gosh, surely, even if I hear one thing get knocked down here and there, surely there is this two-tier justice system that hurts Republicans and benefits Democrats because of all these examples I've been hearing. When in reality, if we go one by one, they don't hold water. They're not examples of Biden weaponizing the government against conservatives or to benefit his son or to benefit Democrats. It's just not something that's happening. And it's really unfortunate. So many people are buying into that. I went to the Miami arrest of Trump, as many of you guys saw, and talked to a lot of Trump supporters as they were really unhappy. And I would ask them, okay, so you read the indictment and you think that the evidence is not real, or do you think that the law doesn't apply here, or why do you think this is so horrible that Trump's being held accountable? And I think every person said, well, I haven't read the indictment, or I haven't read the whole indictment. Most of them just said, I haven't even seen the indictment. So then how could you possibly know that this is an example of Trump being politically persecuted? And then it would be, well, what about Hillary? Well, what about Hunter Biden? And as we're trying to do with this example, and you can do with those individual ones, if you dive into the specifics, you understand why, oh, that's not an example of unfair treatment. That's an example of that being a different case with different facts that was investigated and yielded different results. Not because of a bias, but because of different facts sometimes lead investigators to different conclusions, and that's perfectly fair. But now this view that anything done to a Republican, a conservative that is prominent and is an example in reality of them being held accountable for their violations of the law, in the case of Trump, of course, very prominently, actually just fits into the worldview that's already been created for so many people that conservatives are being persecuted. One more example of this being fact-checked real quick.
Obviously, you're already hearing a lot of shouting, oh, sweetheart deal, oh, this, oh, that. None of us really knows the details of the possible charges here and exactly what was agreed to as part of this plea, Jennifer. But how does one assess whether this is the type of deal that a normal person, not a president's child, would get in this circumstance?
So you would look to other similar cases, right? So on the gun form charge, it's very, very standard for someone in this situation who lies on the form because they're an addict. The gun is long gone, apparently only had it for a couple of weeks. It's very standard in these circumstances for this diversion to occur and to wipe out the charges, assuming he successfully completes it. So that's totally standard. Mm-hmm. And the tax fraud is similar as well. I mean, he paid those taxes back a long time ago. That's something that DOJ takes very, very seriously when negotiating these deals. And I'll also say that Hunter Biden was an addict at the time. And so there was discussion of this back when this investigation got going. When you're talking about a drug addict, you have to think about whether you can prove the mens rea. If this goes to trial, is he going to be able to undercut their case about whether he knowingly and willfully didn't pay his taxes? So given all of that and given similar cases with tax fraud, this is not a sweetheart deal. It's a deal. I think it's a good deal for Hunter Biden in that he will stay out of prison and end up with only 2 misdemeanors on his record.
Right. So facts matter, and if you look at the facts of this case, it doesn't fall within the narrative that they're trying to build day after day. Thank you all so much for watching today's show. Again, you can find me at Luke Beasley on YouTube, and if you remember, I'll see you on the bonus show.
I've had such trouble finding a great razor where I am not cutting myself or getting those nicks on my skin, which are so common with the cheap disposable razors. You have to meet our sponsor, Henson Shaving. Henson actually manufactures parts for the International Space Station and the Mars rover, and they are bringing that exact same precision engineering to the shaving experience. It hurts when you shave because blades extend too far and thus they wobble slightly. But with their aerospace grade CNC machines, Henson is able to make metal razors that extend just 0.0013 inches. That's less than the thickness of a human hair, which means a secure, stable blade with the vibration-free shave. It also has built-in channels to evacuate the hair and the cream. No more clogs, no more rubbing your thumb on the razor to get the hair out. I use Henson at home. Shaving is a great experience now. Henson wants to be the best razor, not the best razor business, which means you only need to buy it once and it's awesome. Go to hensonshaving.com/Pacman, add a razor and a 100-pack of blades to your cart, then enter the code Pacman to get the 100 blades for free. That is a 3-year supply. The link is down below.